So we're recording that right now. So I'm going to just go, with this particular function, with this particular software, what we can do is we can go onto my screen and I can show you websites and PowerPoint displays. So Edward's put together a little 3-slide PowerPoint demo about what we're covering. So I'll shoot over that right now. So you'll see the screen change. So you should still be able to hear me. And here's our welcome. In case you haven't met Edward or myself, I'm Grant Hocking and Edward Kelly, who you've just met. So the requirements are that your microphones are muted, but we'll turn them back on and take questions at the end. And just for those people who have jumped on in the last couple of minutes, the software Zoom has a chat function, and you can type questions that come up. So we'll park them and come back to them at the end of the sessions. So this is what we're going to be covering. So we're going to start with the NTS website, what it looks like, what the information on it is, how to access it, and then how to use that website to lock on to the online learning for the Stop Smoking Practitioners program, which we use the acronym SSPP. So Stop Smoking Practitioners program, we'll refer to it from now on as the SSPP. And we'll talk about the different versions of the program. So there's 3. There's one for health professionals, there's one for people who have done prior learning, and there's one for everyone else, which is the full program. And we'll talk about prior learning, so how you can get your prior learning recognised and what we need you to submit to us in order for us to do that. And then we're going to go to the resource library and show you the stuff that we're loading up that the candidates on the SSPP can access to help them do these assessment tasks that make up the SSPP. So that should end our PowerPoint. So I'll get out of that now. And we're back on. So you should be able to see me again. Yes. Okay. Kia ora, Awhina. How are you? So we can hear you, but you can't hear us. I'm sorry, you can hear us, but we can't hear you. But you can use your chat function. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'll take you to the NTS website now, and we'll have a run through of how that works. So I'll go into my, my Google Drive. Sorry. I'm going to share my screen with you. So you can see my homepage for Google. So nts.org.nz. It takes a while to load this page. Some days it's quite slow. So there we are. That's when you first come on to the NTS website. This is what you see. You should be able to see my cursor moving. So on the home page, About NTS just talks about the National Training Service, how it was set up. The NTS Alliance, at the moment, Inspiring, administers the National Training Service for the Ministry of Health, but there are training partners coming on who your organisations will be able to access to do training that we don't deliver, and that's things like training for pharmacists to do brief intervention, ABC training, and all those partners are listed under the NTS Alliance. So this is the Stop Smoking Practitioners program, the SSPP. So the thing I want to talk about here is, well, we can have a look at some of the graduates actually. These are the people who were in your situation a couple of years ago, and they've completed the program, and you can see there's quite a few of us out there now. And the good thing about this is that organisations who are employing stop smoking practitioners are accessing this and looking for qualified people. So it is becoming quite desirable to have this particular qualification. So back up here. Here is the frequently asked questions. We've just updated this, and it talks about what the SSPP is. Most importantly for you guys at the moment, it talks about the 3 different versions of the program. So version 1 is the full program. So this is the version of the SSPP for stop smoking practitioners who have not achieved formally assessed qualifications in a health-related field at level 3 or above. So our program is on the NZQA framework at level 3. So for the full program, people do 8 assessment tasks in total to achieve the qualification. The fast track program, this is the version for stop smoking practitioners who have had prior learning and have achieved formally assessed qualifications in a health or wellbeing related field at level 3 or above. So when I'm talking about formally assessed qualifications, that means if you've done workforce development that had NZQA unit standards attached at level 3 or above and you've achieved those, if you've been to wānanga or a polytechnic or a tertiary institution and you've done learning there with papers that have been assessed and you've passed or achieved those results. What we can't assess against for recognised prior learning is certificates for attendance. So if you've done Heart Foundation training, 2 days of using stop smoking medicines, all you were doing there was learning, but you were in attendance. So there was no formal assessment to those sorts of training days. It's the same with our group-based training program, where you go for a two-day workshop where Dr. Hayden McRobbie teaches you the ins and outs of working with groups to help them stop smoking, and you receive a certificate of attendance. Because it's not assessed, we can't recognise that as prior learning against the unit standards that are in the SSPP. So that's the fast track program. So if you have done learning in the past where it was assessed at a polytechnic or a wānanga in health-related fields such as Hauora Māori, Pacific Studies, psychology, social work, a lot of the learning you would have done in those programs, you would have already covered the learning outcomes in some of the assessment tasks within the Stop Smoking Practitioners program. So how you have that recognised is you get your record of learning from NZQA. You go onto the NZQA website, you'll have a national student number, so you type in your name, type in your date of birth, they verify it's you, and then you can get your record of learning. And it's a big long list of all the unit standards that you've done in the past at your learning institution or on job training, and you send that record of learning to us, and we match it against the learning outcomes in the SSPP, and where you have done learning that covers those learning outcomes in the SSPP, we can cross-credit you so you don't have to do them again. So that means out of the 8 assessment tasks, you might have done Hauora Māori and done the Treaty of Waitangi and been assessed about what your knowledge on that, how to work safely with Māori, tikanga Māori, all of those aspects of Te Ao Māori. And so therefore, task 3 of the SSPP, which is Māori Principles and Values, you won't have to do that task, and so on and so on and so on. So some people have done a degree program in social work, for instance, and they've covered 5 of the 8 assessment tasks in our qualification. What's normal is the 3 tobacco control and stop smoking assessment tasks that make up the SSPP. Task 5 is about medicines. Task 6 is about a real client who is Māori or from a different culture than your own. And task 7 is a high needs client, complex needs client. So most people have to do those 3 tasks because tertiary institutes and wānanga don't cover that. The 3rd and final version of the SSPP is the Health Professionals Program. So this is the version for registered health professionals such as nurses, pharmacists, midwives, GPs. So they've already done a degree which covers most of the requirements of the SSPP. Their version of the course is 3 tasks: stop smoking medicines, working with complex needs clients, and working with Māori, Pacific, or another client from a culture different of your own. So the key thing is that a lot of people have done qualifications in the past, and they may be cross-creditable or they may not. But access your record of learning from NZQA or your academic record from your polytechnic, wānanga or university, and send those to us, and we can do the cross-crediting to the SSP, reducing the amount of tasks that you'll need to do to gain the qualification. Okay, so that's that bit. And you can come back on here and have a look and read all the information and what tasks are in the program currently and other information about how to get through this as easily as possible. So I'm going a bit fast scrolling, so it's probably blurring for you. So now I want to log in to the website. So as a learner, you'd come to the NTS website and then you go to this big green button. So this is where you connect. So the SSP students click on this big arrow to log in. Excuse me. And you'll get the login page. So I'm going to log in as me. Grant, secret password. So if your password doesn't work, this link here, forgot your password, that will give you a little screen where you can type in and it sends a message, and then your password will come back to your email address. So if you ever forget, that's what you do. So that little one there, forgotten your password. So I'll sign in, hopefully that's going to work. Yes, there I'm in. So this is the home page. And what I want to talk about here is this little bit, the library. So in here, I'm not sure how many people look at this, but it's quite handy. So we'll click on that, and it gives you our stop smoking resources that a lot of you would have got at the 2-day training hub, but it's here as well. So you click on that, we've got the publications, which is, as you can see there, information on carbon monoxide. But it also gives you these things. A learner's guide to professional and ethical behaviour produced by Career Force. Now, Career Force is our ITO. They're the people who make sure our assessments meet the standards required. that we're covering all the points in the unit standard. So everything we do gets approved by Career Force, and they develop these particular learning guides. So I think I'm going to have to just share this screen. Oh no, you can see that. Yeah, okay. So this is the learning guide for the assessment task 1 that we're going to look at the moment. And it gives you a little introduction about the unit standard number, the level it's all at level 3, and how many credits you'll achieve on the NZQA framework when you've done this. A little introduction gives you some information about what you will learn, which is quite good because the whole point of the SSPP is learning. And when I started with Inspiring, I had to do, it was 9 assessment tasks then. So I did all the assessment tasks and I achieved that qualification, but I actually learnt a hell of a lot. I came from ASH after 12 years, Action on Smoking and Health, and being a bit arrogant Australian, I thought I knew everything there was to know, but I actually learnt a lot of stuff by doing this program. So we're going to have a look at task 1, the actual assessment, in a minute. But these learning guides, if you go through them and read them, they actually tell you the answers and teach you about what it means to be professional in a health-related setting. So, for instance, what is a professional person? Characteristics of professional people. They are trustworthy, they're competent, respectful, they act with integrity, they're considerate of others. There's questions about ethics in the assessment task. So a lot of people get confused about what ethics is. There's a lot of grey areas around ethics that come in. Different cultures have different ethical standards, for example. It explains all that quite clearly and in quite understandable language. And it talks about an ethical code, which is the one we work under, the Code of Health and Disability Services Consumers' Rights. And you'll see questions about, in the assessment task, which code do you work under? So there's also the code for youth, working with youth, and there's also the Code of Rights for working in social services. So most of us will work under the Code of Health and Disabilities Services Rights. It talks about your ethical responsibilities to the community, and this is quite a good example. So there's questions about what are your responsibilities to the community, to individuals. So your responsibility to a community member might be an elderly parent of someone you support. Their ethical expectations, they will expect you will care for their son and ensure that he does not come to any harm. And basically, what I like to describe about ethics is this right here. So what is ethical behaviour? It's behaving ethically means doing the right thing rather than what is easy or convenient. Because everyone has their own culture, beliefs and morals. There can sometimes be differences in opinion which can lead to differences in our actions. Ethics is about being fair and honest. And it's things like making an ethical choice. So my example I use in the hub is that when we work Saturdays for health promotion events such as Stoptober, and I wake up on Saturday morning and I know I'm supposed to be at the warehouse for 5 hours talking to people about how they can stop smoking successfully with support in a health booth at Monaco City Warehouse. and I just don't want to go because it's a Saturday morning. So I have an ethical choice to make. I can drag myself off and go and do what I said I was going to do and do it well, be prepared and look the part, or I can ring in sick and say, I can't make the health promotion event today, I'm not feeling well. So that's an ethical choice right there. So ethics is about doing the right thing rather than what is easy or convenient. So as we go through the learning guide, we get into the code of rights. So this is the code that most of us will work under. And it gives you the rights here. So I like this one. I'm just going to zoom down. Where are we? Oh, sorry, I've gone a bit far. Bear with me. The right to make an informed choice and give informed consent. So a lot of people working in as stop smoking practitioners, their main medicine use for clients is NRT, nicotine replacement therapy. So they'll talk to clients about their 3 choices of NRT. They'll talk about patches, the different strengths. They'll talk about gum and their different strengths, and they'll talk about lozenges, and they may talk about mouth spray that's come out. But a lot of them feel uncomfortable talking about the prescription medications like nortriptyline, Champix, and Zyban because they can't prescribe these particular medicines in the same way that they can prescribe NRT. So they don't tend to inform the clients of all the medicines that are available that can help them stop smoking. And therefore, the right to make an informed choice and give informed consent for the consumer is not upheld, because if they don't know about all the options for all the medicines, then they of course can't say, well, Champix sounds like a wonderful drug, I've heard about it, I think I've tried everything else, I think that's for me. How do I get this stuff? So that's the right that I like to talk about in relation to the code. And we'll have a look at the task, the assessment task 1, and it asks questions about the code of rights. It'll say, what is the first principle? And this is the principle. So the right itself, the right to make an informed choice. And then it'll ask for the underpinning values of the right. And that's this stuff down here. So all reasonable steps have been taken to ascertain the views of the consumer, and the provider believes on reasonable grounds that the provision of the service is consistent with the informed choice the consumer would make if they were competent. So the principle of the right and the underpinning value. So all the information you need is here to go through the tasks. So I'll get out of that one and come back into another screen. Back here. Are you looking at that? Yeah. Yep. Okay, and you can see that the information in the library, there are learning guides for quite a few of these principles. This is task 3, the learning guide, and there will be, it's not on here at the moment, but we'll put task 2 up, which is Maori principles and values. So you'll be able to access these learning guides and use them to enhance your learning as you go through the tasks. And also, if we come right down here, this is where you find our handbooks. So you would have got these at the hub on your data stick, but they're also in here. So for instance, the guide to stop smoking medicines. Are you seeing that now? Oh, I'll put you up on the screen here. Yep. Yep. So here's our handbook. So when you get to task 5, which is all about the medicines, and it asks you some quite complex questions about each stop smoking medicine, you can find all this information on our website. So as an example, the nicotine patch, things you should know about the patch, how does it work, its efficacy, how good a job it does, how to take the medicine, any contraindications, so people who can't use it, drug interactions, there are none, adverse effects, so you'll get questions on your task 5 assessment and what are the side effects? So you can come in here and go, redness on the skin, itchiness under the patch, aching in the arm, and that's all the information you need to pass task 5. And I love this bit. This is what you can say to clients. So when we go to work with clients here in Auckland, I have these with me, and I just use them as little cheat cards and to prompt myself when I'm working with clients, especially when I get to the medicines such as Zyban and Champix, where my memory is not as good as it was last week. So I tend to forget this stuff. So I find it really, really handy to print this stuff out and take it with me. So that's all the stuff. Now, just one aside, when you're doing the assessment tasks and you get to task 5, the medicines, it's easy to cut and paste out of here. So you can cut that and you can paste it in your assignment as your answer, which is okay because the answer is correct. But in your assessment tasks, it has to be in your own words. So you have to read the stuff and then write it how you would say it to a client. And that way we know that the information has been learnt by you and that what we're seeing is your own words. So cutting and pasting from websites and these sort of resources will mean that it comes back to you and say, look, we need this in your own words. So that's just a trap for the unwary. Okay, so there's our resources. You should see me again. The makeup lady didn't come in today, so haven't had my face done, so my television face. But I'll go back into the screen and I'll open up the task 1 for you to have a look at. Okay, so we're back into the student portal, or the SSP candidates portal. So we're going to come down to the classroom now. So there's the home page, here's the classroom. We're out of the library. And most of these will give you a little introduction, I believe. So we could have a look at that. Oh, that's just the whole program. So we'll come down here. So this is task 1. And if you press on the module 1, it's more information about the task ahead, the assessment task ahead. Gives you some handy tips about the code of rights, how you can put that into action. Another example of the code of ethics for youth workers, because they're of course working with people who are often too young to make to give consent, so they have a different code. And again, there's our Career Force Professional and Ethical Behaviour Learning Guide that we've just looked at. And quite a few of the assessment tasks of SSPP have this sort of thing going on, where you can click through here and you get a little bit of a, oh, I've gone too far. What's going on there? Get a little bit of a tutorial about what it means to be professional and ethical. And you can answer these things. They take about 10 minutes to go through. And it's a good way to just get yourself in tune for the task ahead. So that's just something that you can think about having a look at. I think I have to go right to the end now to get out of it. Yeah. Okay, so back to this page. If we look at the assessment, it comes down as a Word document. So when we click on here, it will drop to the bottom of the screen down here as a Word document, and I'll open that. And I might have to share that with you. I'll make that a little bigger. So this is what, if you haven't seen this already, I know a lot of you would have, this is what one of the assessment tasks looks like. And you can save this to your computer, so if you don't finish it in one hit, it'll be there for you to come back to. So this is all the basic information we need when you send it, so we can contact you. And then it starts with the questions. So question 1, what does professional behaviour look like in your organisation? So we're not talking about what does professionalism look like if you're a lawyer, or what does it look like if you're a GP. It's what does it look like for you in your organisation. So you think about your organisation's policies and procedures and outline what you need to do to be professional at work. And there'll be things, the answer to that question will be, in our organisation we have a uniform and we're required to wear that when we're meeting with clients at all times, or when we're in the public. We're required to keep very accurate case notes for each client, and we do that on a particular platform that is set up at our work, or we have prepared forms that we use, and we record all of this information about our clients. And at all times we're respectful, we don't act prejudicially to people from cultures that we may have a problem with, or if we are religious and other people aren't religious, that we don't, we work with them regardless of their race, their creed, or their sexual orientation. So all of those things about what you do in your organisation. Describe the characteristics of ethical behaviour and provide 2 examples of how you demonstrate them in your work. So this is where it gets quite concise. If you write 1 example of how you just demonstrate ethical behaviour in your work, it'll come back to you. You need to write 2. You can write more, that's okay, but as long as there are 2. So the answer to that question would be, once again, things like, I always turn up on time. I am always respectful and polite to all people. I act with integrity at all times. Using the guide, the learning guide, will give you an example of what ethical behaviour is, and then you can describe how you implement ethical behaviour in your day-to-day work when you're working with your clients. Which code applies to ethical behaviour in your organisation? Most people tick this one, the Code of Health and Disability Services, so consumers' rights, although not everyone does. Describe 2 principles of the code you work under. So we've talked about this. So the first principle I'm going to describe is the right for clients to be fully informed. So I would write that up there with my bad spelling. That's done. The underpinning values. So the values that were in the learning guide, you would write what they are. So it's things like, I will tell the clients all about the medicines. I will make clients aware of what is available, what the side effects are, and I will let clients lead their choice of stop smoking treatment and work with them on what they decide to do, their choices of treatment options. And how do you apply this ethical principle in your work? Well, when I go to see clients, I take examples of all the medicines and I explain to the clients how to use them, in what dosage and possible side effects, and how long to use them for. And then that will be a fine answer. Second principle, the right to be treated with respect, the right to bring a support person, the underpinning values. Every client has the right to bring whānau, another health professional, or other people into the setting, and I must accept that right. If they need interpreters, then that too is fine. How do you apply this ethical principle? We make it known that that it is fine to have a support person with you. You can bring whānau members. Oh no, my mouse is gone. There, we're back. And so on. And here is the bit about your ethical responsibilities that we've pretty much covered. So this is quite a good one because it's only one ethical responsibility you have to each party. So ethical responsibility to my community. So if I was working, well, we do stop smoking work in South Auckland, which has a very large Pacific and Māori population. So we're required to respect the culture, have an understanding of Pacific Island nations and the varying cultural paradigms that exist in those different communities. And we work with people taking their ethnicity and their cultural beliefs into account. So that's what some of the ethical responsibilities I have when working with clients. And so on down the list. The person you support, what are your ethical responsibilities? To be on time, to come fully prepared, to be able to give them the chance to make an informed choice. All of these things would be correct answers. Your colleagues, your ethical responsibilities to your colleagues, things like if I promise to finish a task by the end of the day, I will finish the task by the end of the day and not leave it till tomorrow. If I make a mistake in my work, I won't try to cover it up. I'll admit my mistake and get the sack. No. Get a warning. No. I'll admit my mistake, apologise, and make sure I never do it again. That's your ethical responsibilities to your colleagues. I mean, there's plenty more. I'm sure you can think of tons more. And to yourself. So ethical responsibilities to yourself. You know, I'll get enough sleep. When I'm stressed, I'll take time out from work. I'll look after myself. I'll try to stay fit. I won't smoke. I won't get hooked on tobacco again because I've given up. All of these things, they're my ethical responsibilities. I had a terrible dream the other night that I was smoking in the Inspiring office, and one of my colleagues walked in and caught me having a cigarette by the shredder. It was very unnerving. So I learned a lesson about dreaming unethically. And then this part here, this is about personal values and how personal values can cause conflicts in work and with clients. And we talked a little bit about personal values like religion. This is about alcohol, for instance. So this is most people find this quite straightforward because the example is so good. So your first personal value, it might be my personal value. One of my personal values is to, if I'm going to do a task, I do it to the best of my ability. Why is this important to me? Because I want to make sure that what I do is fit for purpose, that other people are going to benefit from it, and that the best information or the best work is being shared, and so on and so on. And we're just about finished the task. The final question is, what options are there in your organisation for dealing with ethical disputes and grievances? So I'm sure most of you in your organisations will have policies that talk about complaints and people who are grumpy and unhappy with your service. So if there's one of your colleagues who, or someone you know of, a health professional or a quit coach, who's continually missing appointments for various reasons, and clients are coming to your organisation and say, I waited 3 hours in my house for the coach to turn up and he never arrived. I want to make a formal complaint. So there'll be a process that your managers will go through. So you need to just let us know what that process is and how it works for you. And then right at the very end, we have a verification form. And this is for your managers, and it can be a bit of a hassle for a lot of people because often their managers are on the road or they work remotely. So they finish a task and then they have to track down their manager to get these things signed off. And why it's here, this is a career force requirement. And it's allowing managers to have a look at the work if they're interested and say, you know, oh yeah, this looks really good. Let me know if you get an achieved, and that'll be great. It looks really good, matches all our policies. You obviously know what you're doing, and they sign it off. And that way we know that your manager has seen it, your manager knows it's your work, and if there's any issues with it, they might be able to just say, oh, you got this a little bit wrong, and then when it's signed off, it comes to us. Then we assess it. There's 3 assessors at the moment who do that work, and normally within 7 days, you should get a result back. If you get a result, if there's something in it you've missed, so maybe where it says you need to provide 2 examples and you're in a real hurry and only put one example, it'll come back to you and it'll say, your result sheet will say more evidence required. And then it'll have underneath, it'll say question 3. The question asked for 2 examples of how you deal with ethical problems in your workplace, and you've only given us 1. All you have to do is answer that 1 question. You don't have to go back and do the whole assignment again. So it's just 1 question, and when that's done, you send that 1 question back to us and we'll give you an achieved. Then the credits are sent to Career Force for you, and then they're loaded up on the NZQA framework, and those credits stay with you forever. So when this is all done, you've filled out all the questions, you've checked it, you've made sure that you've provided the correct number of answers to each question, your manager signed it off. This is who you send it to. So we really like it if you send it to us as a Word document, if that's possible. It just makes it very, very easy to assess and to put comments in the margin about your work, so you can get our interpretation of different ways or what we know about that other services are doing that might help you in your work. And as a Word document, when we get them as PDFs, it makes that task really, really difficult. And this is important to send it to this email address, because a lot of people, they contact me with questions or Edward with questions, and they have our email address and they send their completed tasks to Grant@Inspiring or Edward@Inspiring, and often they get lost in our hundreds and hundreds of emails that we get every week. And 2 months later they ring up and say, I haven't had any results back, and we wade through our emails and we find that we've overlooked them. So if it goes to NTS@Inspiring rather than Grant or Edward, it gets logged onto the system straight away, and then it gets sent to the assessors, and then that way there's a tracking, we have a tracking system that makes sure that your assessments are with the right person and they are assessed within 7 working days and your results are sent back to you. So now I'm going to get you out of here and you'll be able to see Edward's shiny face if he comes back over here. And we've got a few questions coming in. So Edward will take over.
Okay. Sarah, my line manager wants the smoke-free coordinator to sign off as coordinator as a trained nurse. Manager has no clinical experience. So in that case, it needs to be, yeah, that's right, isn't it, Grant? So she's able to sign that off. She's able to sign that off. So if she knows about it and she is your, yeah, that's the coordinator. It's a really, so it's about the person who signs it off that you report to, or the next one that they delegate to, just so that they can see that your work is above board, or you know that you know what you're talking about. So if that is the delegated next person down that your line manager wants, then that's fine. Okay, so we're going to open it up now so that we can maybe hear some voices, or not. Mouse is gone. Where's your? Oh, here we go. Go to.
That's where it says mutual.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Kia ora koutou katoa. Can everyone hear now?
Yes.
Great. Oh, we can hear you. So, are there any other questions? Did you find that useful?
Yeah. Good.
Yep. Great. So once we get off, so what we've done is we're recording that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to publish it on YouTube, and we can send out the link so that if you want to watch any of it again, that you'll have access to it. But also, if you have any other questions that you might want answering with regards to anything that we've learned today, then you can contact us as well. That's not a problem. We can answer any of those questions that you need answering.
Cool. Now, I had an issue right at the beginning. For the first 5 minutes, I lost Wi-Fi, so I had to relocate to our conference room, which is why I probably look a bit better than I was in my office, because I'm light. So everything that was that Grant said for the first 5 minutes, I missed. I completely lost a lot. So how do I get the recording again?
Oh, so once we finish this, we will upload it onto YouTube, and then we'll send you the link.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So actually, you'll be able to sort of rewatch whatever you want. But actually, for the first little while, actually, we just went through what we were going to be covering in today's session. So,
Great. Terrific.
Right.
So I was just going to butt in here and just remind people that if you've sent us your record of learning to have your prior learning cross-credited, really one of the first ones that most people don't have to do is task 1. It's covered. So if you've sent your record of learning and you've received a result sheet, just make sure you're not doing tasks that you don't need to do. But I kind of feel that everything that we've done in task 1, I've done before in the health promotion course that I did. Would that have the credits in there? Absolutely. If you've done a learning program where it was assessed and you receive formal results, like a record of learning from NZQA, like it was at a Wānanga or a polytechnic or from a tertiary institute, you'll have a record of learning, and you can send that to us, and we can cross-check it and do that for you.
I think I just caught the tail end of that when I got back online with you.
Yeah,
Something about record of learning, and then I thought, I've missed something here.
It explains it all on the website. If you go to the homepage of the nts.org.nz website and click on SSPP and go to frequently asked questions, it explains exactly how you get your prior learning recognised, what you need to. Yeah.
Is anybody else getting buzzing or ringing on their audio?
Yeah, so you have to probably turn it down. It's a little bit too loud.
I think it's feedback from our systems because we've got two computers going. So
right.
So Sarah, with regards to your question on the webinar that Hayden did the other day, so we're doing exactly the same with that. So we're going to be publishing a link very shortly. I've just managed to upload it as the webinar was happening. So we'll send that link out. So that was on long-term nicotine use. So it will be up this afternoon. But what I'll do is I will send out, I'll get everyone to send out the link. But in the future, we're probably going to, once we've done the webinars and we've got them up and running, we're going to publish them on our MTS Inspiring page. But we'll also send out the link so that you can sort of click directly on it. You'll be able to go to the YouTube and watch it there.
Oh, kia ora, Grant and Edward.
Hello, Fina.
Oh yes, I just have a question. I'm looking for some inhalers. One of my clients wants inhalator, but we don't seem to purchase them at the pharmacies around here in the hut. Do you know where she can get one from?
Inhalator. So they used to have them at the supermarket here.
Yeah, I've been ringing around the chemist and they said they don't stock them.
If you go to go on Google search and search online pharmacy New Zealand.
Online pharmacy, yes.
There's that. They stock really all of the NRT products which you can purchase online.
Okay, so the client can actually go on there and get it herself?
Yeah. So you've got a credit card, I believe. You can buy stuff.
Or a debit card?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. I've got a appointment with you today. I'll let know. Nice. That's a good webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So you've got our details. You know how to get hold of us if you have any questions.
You'll do the task ones in 10 minutes, okay? So get on to it. Nah.
I'll be tuning in next week.
Okay. Next week we'll be doing 2, which is Māori principles.
I've just resubmitted 2 and 3, so I've sent it to the NT's your email. Yes, inspiring.
It's nice. Yep, great.
Okay, thank you, and I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Okay, te anō.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Oh, Grant, I saw that.